Welcome everybody. My name's Pip Oxlade. My aunt was a psychic and a meditation teacher. She was always told that she was a bit odd. I was brought up believing that my aunt was odd. And then I realised that I was odd too. And there's a lot of odd people in this world. And yay! We're all getting together in this community. And it's fantastic. So my awakening, I guess, started from birth, but really when I had chemotherapy. And so what happened was about 3.5 years ago, I was faced with what I would call a near-death experience. And it wasn't through the cancer that I was afraid, it was the chemotherapy. You see, I've been brought up not to trust doctors. And, you know, most of the doctors that I'd been in contact with were quite egotistical and quite godlike. Well, I'd met doctors all my life because I was born with a dysplastic hip, which means that the ball is smaller than the socket and would come out of the socket quite easily. But it was never an issue for me. I became a nurse and a midwife, and I was a very strong person, and I danced rock and roll, and I was even in the league of dancing with national champions. I wasn't one, but I could keep up with them. So to get ill with cancer was a big thing for me, which is a lot, for a lot of people. But the chemotherapy it's a toxic drug. I was a holistic therapist. I'd spent all my life avoiding cancer. I wasn't going to get it like my mother, who died when I was 12. I wasn't going to get it like my aunt, who's still alive now, but she had breast cancer and had a bilateral mastectomy. And I wasn't going to be like my other aunt, who'd ended up with thyroid issues because of cancer. My mum's mum, whilst she was carrying me in her womb, was diagnosed with mental illness and was given electric shock treatment, later to find out that she had secondaries of cancer in her brain. So, of course, I was brought up with a leg issue, having to see a doctor every year and told that I was going to have to give my body over for them to do leg lengthening at the age of 12 and not trusting those who were doing it. I then became a nurse and a midwife. What better way to challenge the health system? Because I was a very annoying nurse and midwife because I stood up for the patient. And, and just because they said something needed to be done didn't mean that I necessarily did it. I would question, but it wore me out fighting the system. And in the end, I didn't have time to care, which meant that it wasn't that I didn't care. It meant that I didn't have time to keep up with the paperwork and the politics and trying to fight what wasn't working. So I had to get out. So 3 years ago, I was faced with my biggest fear. And this was me in the midst of weekly chemo. The nurses would look and say, well, who's the patient when they looked at me and John walking in? I always had a smile on my face. I'd been brought up by my father, who said, well, if you're going to do a job, do it well. So I wasn't going to let anybody beat me. I looked at the chemotherapy as my friend. I told it, okay, you're here, you're going to only work on the cells that require you, but you're going to leave my eyebrows. And guess what? Every single other piece of hair fell out except my eyebrows, which I was very pleased about, because I can't bear these penciled. I thought, oh gosh, I'd look like a clown, But, I always matched my headgear with my tops, and people say, oh, you look very smart. And they say, oh, how do you do that? And I said, oh, that's the pipola, And, I actually rocked through my treatment. I took myself off of the steroids and the antiemetics, and I decided that you didn't need to get ill and weak with chemotherapy, because I wasn't going to go the way that most people go on it. So I decided to do a raw vegan diet for 3 weeks and cleanse my body and make it alkaline, and I did. I had weekly chemo for 4.5 months. I was in hospital for 48 hours every 2 weeks having constant chemotherapy. I did lose a lot of weight. I lost 10 kilos. So for me, I went down to 47 kilos. I was very weak. I was breathless. I couldn't have walked up these stairs without puffing and stopping halfway. Partway through my treatment, I was told I would need a blood transfusion. I learnt to body douse before through the theta healing that I do. And I communicate very intuitively with my body. And I asked, body, I require a blood transfusion. No. Okay. So I worked out that I needed spirulina 3 times a day. And the doctors went, that's not going to work. So I said to John, go and get me some, because I don't listen, you see. Go and get me some, and I'm going to give it a go. So I took extra anyway. And by the next day, my blood count had risen a little bit, and they were questioning their blood tests. So I decided that it was a really good way to go, and I was going to continue it. So that's what I did. I didn't have a blood transfusion. And I'm not saying don't have blood transfusions, I'm just saying my story, this is my story, and I can do what I want in my story. And then they bring in these pots of pills every day, and I'd say, what are those, knowing damn well what they were, and they'd say, oh, those are the antiemetics, which is the anti-sickness, and I'd say, body, I require anti-sickness. No. I say, I'm not taking those. Oh, but you'll be sick. Body, I'll be sick. No, I won't be sick. So what are those? Oh, they're painkillers. Oh, you'll need those because you'll be in pain. No, I won't. So you can take those away. And so, in the end, I was left with just the chemotherapy, which I said, oh, hello, friend, and you're only going to go to the cells that require it, but leave my eyebrows, see? And so I had this conversation going. So that was really neat. Now, you might have heard of a portacath. You have a little valve put underneath the skin because, if you're having weekly chemo, they're very worried about the veins, being affected. Well, my veins are quite small and the needles were quite big, and so I opted for the portacath that sits here, and it's got a long lead that goes towards the heart. Well, it shouldn't clog up because after each session you should have heparin put in it. Well, I know from a nursing point of view it shouldn't clog up, but mine did with a big clot. So I wasn't too happy. So in the end I had a room full of professionals saying, well, we're going to have to access you here to get the chemotherapy through. And I said, well, no, you did it, you sort it out, because I've been through this. To get this in, you're going to access it. So they all went out to have a conference, you see, and my friend went, get out of ego, get out of anger. She says, you do what you're good at, you sort it out. And at times of trouble, that's when you need someone to kick you up the backside and go, hey, you can do it. So I went inside and I went up to the Creator. And I said, Creator, make this tube what I'd call patent, clear. Make it patent now. And I visualised all this beautiful pink energy growing in my chest, and then it shot up through the centre of the tube. Guess what? They came in all ready, like this. We're going to have to put these. I said, no, try one more time. It was really sore because I'd actually asked them to try several times before. So reluctantly they did, and guess what? It worked. It worked. And she turned around to me, she said, you've done something, because I was laughing and my friend were laughing. And I said, well, yeah, magic. But it was fab. So, someone said to me the other day, they said, people don't look like that when they have cancer. Now, this cancer was from a pregnancy that had failed. I had been wanting a baby for 17 years. And, divine timing, all this stuff, beliefs, programs, so on, it kept eluding me. And we had gone through infertility treatment. I was 44 for the last time. And that failed. And then 8 weeks later, I fell pregnant naturally. Yay, celebrations, 17 years. But then it formed into a hydatiform molar pregnancy, a mole in the uterus, which then infiltrated the womb and then spread its little babies all around my body. So I started to grow lots of babies, but they were cancerous babies, displaced cells. So, you know, when I went on chemotherapy, it was tracking towards implanting itself in my brain. And so, yes, that's my journey there with cancer there. Now, abundance is seen in the universe. And through all of this, I never lost faith. I've always trusted, and I've always known there's a bigger picture. Always wanted to be Tabitha off of Bewitched, yeah? And you know, and those lovely people off of Sensing Murder, you know, I've always believed that because I've always been odd, like a lot of lovely odd people. You know, we've got these gifts, that everybody's got the gifts. Some of us are lucky to have known that from birth. Others have to find them later on, but we are all it. John and I were sitting one evening on the 26th of December 2010, and John looked out of the window and he said, "What's that?" Now, you need to look around and you need to look up, because we happened to have our curtains open that evening, and in the sky was shining this light. And you might want to just turn the lights down just for a moment, John. Can you see that? Okay, cool. I'll just turn it up again. Now, we went outside and we said, well, it's not a plane, it's not a helicopter, it's not a balloon, it's not a Chinese lantern. It's not, and I went, it's a UFO. That's what it is, an unidentified flying object. There it was in the sky, no clouds, flying very slowly from north to south. And after we went through all the knots, and we got to it is, get the camera quick, ran in, managed to get this shot. It shone like a radiant star before it turned east. Well, can you imagine how we felt? Wow, in Cambridge, wow. You know, it happens everywhere else, but in Cambridge. Well, we started up on, we loaded it up on Facebook, and I said, maybe we should let that Share International know. Just putting it out in the universe. Within an hour, they contacted us. Hey, we've just seen a posting. Can we let the editor of Share International know about this? Yes, please, tell us what you think. Well, they believe that it's the Maitreya emergent star, but it was seen by loads and loads and loads of people, but we were lucky enough to get the photograph. But where this links into all of this is that there is magic happening, and it's about believing and knowing and seeing. And at Prana last year, I was there with a friend, and 2 years ago I was there with a friend, and she said, well, what are these orbs that people keep talking about, these images that they see in their photos? I said, well, you just have to believe and they'll show themselves. Well, all her photos she'd taken so far, not one orb. From that moment on, orbs, oh my gosh, well, we lost her for 2 days because all she was doing was clicking with the photograph. Let's go down the beach, in the pitch black, take a photograph. There were the orbs. So it's about believing, knowing and seeing. Now, this is a photograph that we've taken off of the web, and this is Norway, December 2009. And this was seen in the sky. They don't quite know whether that light was coming up from the Earth or being beamed to the Earth, or as it was going up into the universe, that was the what was seen in the atmosphere. But whatever way you see it, I've never seen anything like that, ever, in the sky. Well, the magical thing is that 3 years before that, I was channeling this. Could we flick back to the previous slide, please? Same shape, same colour. Now, what I would say is the being of blue came through as a spinning orb of consciousness and a vibrational state of being. And I didn't quite understand what it was all about. And this was way before I had my cancer. It was way before I got into theta healing. It was way before the process of being in colour came about. But, you know, look at the little things that are happening in your lives. Look at the little footsteps that you're making. Go back, keep a reflection diary. Have a see at the signs. Because these signs were being shown to me and I didn't get the bigger picture till later on. So I call blue the instigator, or the transmuter of the energy for me. And I started hearing voices, being told to build a pyramid. Well, I did. I got a metal pyramid made. It's about 6 foot high. And I started to invite my friends round for pyramid parties, just to see what would happen. And we would sit there vibrating inside it, thinking, whoa, this is really interesting. But what was happening was that our cells were starting to shift, and we were starting to welcome in the new energies of what was coming in. What was coming in for me was the biggest journey of my life, because 3 years later, I went through my cancer journey. Whilst I was lying in the hospital bed, this was early on, and John was not sleeping on the floor as he did after that time. I was alone in my bed. I was very scared. I was very angry and fearful, annoyed with the universe. I went through the why me. I was surrounded by white light, and within the white light there were little beings of light. And I said, why me? And they said very clearly, it is not good enough. Why? They said, the only way to cleanse you on a deep cellular level. And I said, why? And they said, for you to do your work. Now, a lot of people since that time have left me. A lot of people do not understand my journey. But I am big enough at my 5 foot stature now, and I'm standing on the table to show you how big I am, to say, well, I know where I'm meant to be going, but it's not about me. I was just a channel for what is. And we've all spoke today about how important it is to connect within our hearts, to centre with the truth. The truth is, for me, through that consciousness of the blue. It spoke the truth, and now I know the truth because I've been on the journey, and I'm introducing people to the journey through the colour and the beings of colour. I changed the name through direction from beings of colour to being in colour, just because it would be a little bit more accepting. So, stressed, confused. You know, life limits us. It's not what life does to you that is important, but what you do with what life does to you. You can sink or you can swim. You can be dumped by the tsunami, or you can get a surfboard and ride it and go, yay! All right? It's about learning to de-stress yourself, refocus, and rebalance. Now, last October, I couldn't have stood on this table. Last October, I was walking with a stick. It took me 10 minutes to stand up. All right? I'm able to get on this table, and I'm proud to be standing here because it's been a hard, hard journey. Even since January, when I went to the doctor and I asked for sleeping tablets because I wasn't sleeping, and I felt that I couldn't go on any longer because I was waking up in so much pain at night that I would wake up screaming as my hip went out of its socket. The way that chemotherapy affects you is that it attacks the good cells as well as the cancerous cells. And we all know that cancer cells are doing the best job that they can. They are there to protect us because they're mopping up the toxins. They're mopping up the acidity in our body that's been brought there through stress, fear, anger, and wrong eating habits, etc., etc. I had gone through 6 months of injecting myself and going through infertility treatment with IVF. I then didn't succeed in a pregnancy. So I went through grief, shock, trauma and pain. I then got pregnant naturally, celebrations. Then I found out I had cancer. I didn't not only go through that, but I was told chemotherapy will bring you into instant menopause. 17 years of trying to have a baby, that would be ended. There was a lot of stuff that my body had to cope with at that time. So hence, I was stressed and confused. And a lot of people do get that way in their lives and in their illnesses. But it also boils down to the core genetic, historical and soul beliefs that you are carrying. What has gone on before with your parents and the karma that you may be carrying. So in January, after seeing the GP and going on 4 nights, I limited myself. 4 nights of sleep with sleeping tablets and muscle relaxants. I cried to the universe, help me. You better sort this out with me. Help me, put me in contact with those right people who can help me bring light back into my body, because if I don't bring it back in soon, I'm just, yeah. And all of a sudden, my friends started to appear with solutions out of the blue. And I was shown trauma-releasing exercises. Wow, they were amazing. Absolutely incredible. And if you want the details, I will happily give them to you. I went on a raw vegan diet. I'd forgotten that in amidst all of my pain. I'd forgotten it. And no one had reminded me. But when I asked, it was presented. Within 2 days of that raw vegan diet and doing those trauma-releasing exercises from my muscles, my pain had reduced by 60%. I knew I was on the right road. I then got focus again. I could then start working with my colours. All of this proved to me that you need a jolt sometimes from friends, from people that you love, to help put you back on track. So know where to ask, but ultimately go within your heart and ask. My catchphrase that I have adapted is, it is okay to give in and give up. All our lives we're told, don't give in, don't give up. Bollocks. Give in, give up. Yeah? Take your power here and find it there. All right? Which way do you go? Where do you look? Who do you look to? Why? What is there out for me? Are you living in the past? Are you in the now? Are you looking too much into the future? What is it all about? Grey is like a plaster. It's a neutral space in between the black and the white, in between the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. It's nothing to fear. We may have put that plaster there for a reason, to hide the fears and the anguish and the pain that's underneath. But maybe at some point you're ready just to lift that plaster up just a little bit and have a peek underneath and go, I am ready to deal with this now. maybe not. Maybe you'll keep it like that all your life. This is what I believe is the Pandora's box. We've all got the Pandora's box, and the gifts are within your Pandora's box. We just have to lift the lid. It's about communication. Communicating is so easy. And what was funny, I would tell you a funny story, is that I've taken this new job on, which involves lots of data entering as an advertising manager in my spare time. And so I have to go into my left brain thinking place. But what I do, and a lot of creative people do, is they adapt their left brain with putting colours onto their Excel sheets. I don't know if you do that, but you know, red may mean got to do it right now, important, yeah? Green might mean, oh yeah, look into it, but it can wait a bit. Orange is doing it, but not quite there, etc., etc. Well, my Excel sheet looks like a rainbow. I know exactly where it is. Well, there was a misunderstanding between right brain and left brain. My husband, left brain, right brain. And he said to me, because he got my data all nicely in alphabetical order, and my multicolours are all now like this, psychedelic. He said to me, oh, have you sorted the data out? And I said, oh, I haven't sorted it yet. Not sorted it yet. He took that as a signal to go and sort it. He took away my colours. So the next day, I'm looking at this completely black and white sheet that now looks totally grey, looks Russian completely, and I'm going, where's my colours gone? And he's going, well, you said sort it. And I went, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. So I spent the best part of yesterday in panic stations, undoing the doings that needn't need to be done, and him losing his hair going, oh gosh, I wish you'd learn Excel properly. You know it doesn't work like that. And I said, well, it can work like that now. So, and the funny thing was that we were given being in colour as a dual task to learn how to create it together. That's how I know it works with left brain and right brain. It's because the images were coming through me, in my eyes. I was feeling them. I was communicating. John was sat at the computer and had no idea what I was seeing. I had to tell him, the spiral has to look like this. Because we took photographs of what I'd drawn, but we then had to put them on the computer and we had to adapt them. And when they were right, they were right. And if they were wrong, they would disappear. Or they would lock up the computer. Or the computer would go very, very slow till it drove you mad. Or I thought I'd finished writing the book and then it would disappear. So I had to rewrite the book 3 or 4 times. You know? So, yes, communication can be so easy if you listen up there and you learn to listen to your left and right brain as well. Where do you see yourself in that image? Do you see yourself as connected, interconnected with everybody else? Or do you see yourself as one colour? Or did you feel in chaos or rather lost? Did you see yourself in the centre of your universe? Now, I said it's about giving in. This is where the process starts. It's about reflecting inwards. But a lot of people avoid themselves. A void is a dark space. A void. But you know, in that dark space, there is many gifts. And that's where I found me. And for a lot of you who know people who've been through chronic illnesses or acute changes in their lives, or maybe you've been through near-death experiences too, that dark space is a very scary space, sometimes. But when you surrender and you give up, you will find peace in that space. It is incredible. So when you're ready, allow yourself, through meditation, through quiet times, to be gently taken with whoever you believe in to guide you. Whether it be a fairy or an angel or a guide or your masters or your ancestors, God, maybe a friend sitting with you and holding your hand. Allow yourself to go within. And this is where it starts. It starts in your heart. Now you may notice on this image that there's a slightly lighter side and a slightly darker side. These images were drawn 3 years before this process started, and I had no idea why I was drawing them or why they were like they were. But my goodness, people will read into these images and they will get so much out of them. You know, are you the baby? Are you the person holding the baby? Are you the image that's holding the two? Or are you standing outside of that, looking inwards? Are you the light? Take yourself on a journey of nature. Take yourself into that grounded, beautiful space of the goddess. Allow yourself to connect with your chakras, your energy centres. Now there's only 7 seen there, but there are many, 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 many thousands and thousands of chakras. You've got chakras all over your body, and if you've been to see an acupuncturist, you'll know how many pins they can put in all the very various places that you've got on your body. Well, you know, that's what they're accessing, is all the power points, yeah? So, and there's more and more main chakras showing themselves, and the colours that you will be shown soon will show you how many we've gone to. I was shown 18. Okay. This is an image that depicts maybe the inner child. Maybe it depicts being secure. Or it could be a baby within the womb, but it could be the old hurts and pains and issues. Now the key is about recognising your internal gifts. There's always a gift, and I'd like to share a story with you. Is my friend turned round to me one day and told me how his father, when he was about 5, had broken his nose. His father was a very angry man and drank a lot. Yet this man, now in his 50s, had managed to forgive his father and was able to love his father, who'd now gone into Alzheimer's. But he told him that he had forgiven him, and that was very healing for him to do. The gift that he had learnt, because he was able now to look back, was that he'd learnt strength. He'd learnt to love unconditionally. So even though you may have difficulties in your lives, look at the gifts that those people can bring you. This image is a very special image. We are light beings, and this is what the beings of light have brought to show us, is that we physically are not just this, obviously. We've got our soul, our spirit, but we are interconnected universally. When we meditate, it's good to see ourselves as light and take ourselves up through the various levels, up through the light and the dark and the light, up through to that creative light. But it's not up, it's in, it's all around. It's not a part of us, it is part of us. It's always helpful to look at the other side of things, of situations, of yourself, and see yourself as a third party. Now, how does it feel to have the shoe on the other foot? We had a situation recently where I was running a workshop and one of my participants went out and she drove her car and a little boy had strung a rope across the road to play a game of tag, apparently. And if she'd been on a motorcycle, she could have been killed. The rope snapped as she drove through the rope because she didn't see it, and the knot at the other end whacked back and broke her back window. Shocked her. She came back to where I was and she said, "Oh my gosh," she was shaking, "oh!" And she got really, really upset, but angrily. And she'd phoned her boyfriend who was going to come and beat the kid up because, I said, "Hold on a minute, I know what to do." And I was totally in that space of holding grounded centeredness. And that's what we need to aim for in these stressful situations as healers, as people of light, is to hold that center. So I got in my car and I drove to their house. I knew exactly what house it was. I knocked on the door. The elder brother came to the door. I said, "Excuse me," I said, "I think your brother has just played a game and smashed my friend's window." I said, "I just would like to have a word." The parents weren't there, and he got his 8-year-old brother, who stood there like this, but with somewhat like that. So I said, "What would have been a good thing to have done instead of run off laughing?" Then he looked at me, and he said, "Say sorry?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Would you like to come and say sorry?" So both him and his elder brother got in the car and I drove them to my house. And I got my friend out and I said, "They'd like something to say to you." And he said, "Sorry." I said, "That's good." I said, "But what would be a really helpful thing for you to do?" And I said, "Well, I'll get the vacuum and the dustpan and you can clean all the glass out of the car." So anyway, he did with his brother. And you could see his bottom lip starting to quiver. And I thought, oh, he can feel it. He can feel it now. Not that I was punishing him, no. I was wanting him to know the right thing to do. And he did. And they walked home and they said thank you. My friend felt that there had been a balance restored. And she was able to say to her boyfriend, "It's okay, it's been dealt with." Now this is what we need to be doing, is actually showing our wisdom, showing by example how to deal with these things in a better way. So reflect outwards and take action, exactly what I've been speaking about. Remember, the past is history, the future is a mystery. Today is the gift, and that's why we call it the present. So look at the gifts of the present and bring them into now and make that change. So many people come seeking. They've got no idea where they want to be in their life. So it's good to actually give them a signpost, give them an idea so that they can put themselves in that place right now. Have a look at these images and I'm going to ask you a question. Which shape do you resonate with most right now? And feel it in your heart. Now, which shape would you like to be? Circles can relate to love and comfort. Squares can relate to reliability and patience. Triangles can relate to vision and solutions. Rectangles can relate to transition and the need to question. And the free space in the middle can relate to the need to ground or fly away. Does that help you realise who you are and where you would like to be? Now, this image is much brighter than the one that I experienced. Spirit put me into all sorts of situations to bring these cards about. I was willing to change and move on. And when I was asked by someone who was giving me theta healing prior to the being in colour process coming through, are you ready to move on for your guides to change? I said, oh yes, not realising my guides wouldn't go, oh goodbye and we'd have a party. They went like this. And I felt very alone. And I remember saying to John, my Native American Indian man's gone and my Chinese man's gone and my Victorian lady's gone and all I'm left with is the white light. And I was very disappointed. Well, what came through with the white light has been the rainbow. And it's been an amazing journey. I woke up one night in the early hours of the morning not being able to move. I was suspended exactly like this in a vacuum, a void. All I could move were my eyes, and I was very scared. And I wanted to poke John and say, help, can you get me back into my body? But I couldn't move, I couldn't shout, and I was very, very scared. And that was because I denounced or didn't have that white light. Because all it was just the white light. So the black was showing me that there is a white light, but I had to then go and find it. And so this image is about breaking free. Can you see how that little hand has just broken free there? So some people may see the blob in the middle. That could indicate blocks. Or the ties could mean being tied down, or the need to tie down. But then the release is the hand. Yeah. This is an old image that was shown to me by two clairvoyants back in England a few years ago. And I'm sure, Wayne, you'll recognise this from old times. Is, you know, it's about being grounded. It's about being connected in the white light, surrounded by a bubble of white light. By putting flames or fire around that bubble of white light, nothing can touch you because it will be transmuted by the fire, because fire is a great cleanser and changer. To put 3 gold rings around you brings you that connection with your God. I tried this out on one visit to see my stepmother. Me and my stepmother had a long history in the past and in this lifetime. And for the best part of probably 42 years, I hated her. I absolutely loathed her. Had an awful time together, we did. Taught me many gifts, now I realise. But she would not make me, because I know that it's only me who makes me, but at the time I believe she made me that small every time I went round to see her. So there I was, I tried this out. I went up to the door before I rang the doorbell and I went, grounded, white light, 3 gold rings, fire. She opened the door, she said, welcome, come in. I spent 2 hours there and she was ever so nice to me. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. So every time I go to see her, even now, I do this. So, you know, if you like that concept, well then maybe you could give it a go too. Life is about balance, is about finding your centre. This image was derived from a book called The Hermetic Principles by Doreen Virtue. I'm a picture, creative person, like colour, especially on my Excel sheet. And so I thought, well, how can I put this into an image? And so life is like a ruler, or time, yeah? Dum, 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 dum. We know we're growing. But life is also like a pendulum. It swings in a motion, never stops. Now, if you get swung too much that way or too much that way, you can end up in chaos, challenge, stress. The key is growing and moving, but maintaining that centre. Yeah. Find that goddess, and even the gentleman. We've all got the male and the female within us. Find that goddess connection with the earth and the masculine connection with Father Sky. Be the tree, the strong tree with the big roots, not to be tipped over. And hold the boughs proudly above you. The inaugural speech of Nelson Mandela was, the thing that we fear most is shining our light, being all that we can be. Play, fun, express, be creative. Now, when you look at this image, you may see different colours. And can we just momentarily have the light just down, just for the moment? So be those colours. See yourself vibrant and alive. But, right at the top of that image, there is a little slither of black. And those looking for the black will find it. And I had a man sit down, he goes, "That's where I want to go." I said, "Where's that?" He said, "Through there. I want to see what's on the other side." Yeah. And there'll be other people who look at that image and they'll see the little white speck in the centre. And they'll go, "That's what I want in my life." It is amazingly quick, your subconscious mind. Remembering it's about 88% of your mind, it's infinite. We have to learn to trust our intuition and our creativeness to be all that we can be. The more we stay in that 12% of our conscious mind, the further away we're going from here. So yes, connect and centre within. I've had a lady look at this image and she's thrown the card down, turned herself away from it, and she said, "I knew that would come up. I knew it." And I said, "Would you like to turn the card over? Because there's the rainbow on the other side." And there's a reason for the rainbow being on the other side. It's because it takes people out of their stuff straight away. She said, "No, I'm going to deal with it." And I said, "Okay, do you want to tell me what you see?" She said, "That's the abuse that I had when I was a child." I said, "Okay." And not to be too descriptive, but at the bottom, she saw that little part at the bottom and it reminded her of the feminine. And that's what did that for her. Another woman looked at this image and she said to me, "That's what I'm going to get." And I said, "What's that?" She said, "Cancer." I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yes." And she was looking at the little white blobs because her aunt had died of lung cancer. And so that image was speaking to her on a level that you cannot explain. And I've used these images with 2 psychologists. And they said, "But how did you get that answer?" I said, "I didn't get it. You got it. You said it." So this is ultimately, I guess, why we're here today, is to set yourself free and soar like a bird. So now we're going to go through a meditation with a difference. I'd like you to keep your eyes open, but feel the energy through your hearts and be all that you can be.
Welcome to your healing meditation. In this meditation, I will take you through the 7 chakras, starting with hand positions on the crown chakra, going through to the base chakra. So see yourself still, with your shoulders relaxed and roots extending from your feet into the ground. Bring the colours of the rainbow around you. Now visualise yourself well, abundant, focused, and connecting with unconditional love. Now see the colours and positively connect with the colour that feels right for you. And take a breath in and breathe that colour in. Be absorbed into that colour and allow yourself to be the best that you can be now. Place your hands on your crown. Connect with the energy of purple. With your feet firmly on the ground. Take a deep breath in and hold and out and hold before you breathe in again. Allow your breath to be rhythmic, gentle, and flow with the colour of purple. Connect with the energy of the universe within you, around you and beyond. And see the light blending with the purple, and bring the purple energy to every cell in your body. Allow yourself to absorb all the qualities of purple and the light. See your crown chakra spiraling gently, and be. Now bringing your hands to your third eye, placing one at the back of your head on the occiput and one on your brow. Connect with indigo. Take a nice slow breath in. Hold and breathe out. Hold and continue breathing slowly and rhythmically, and allow yourself to flow with indigo. Breathe the colour in to every cell in your body. See it blending with the light of the universe of all that is. And be in indigo. Now taking your hands to your throat, placing one at the front and one on your neck. Take a breath in and hold and out, and hold. Continue breathing in a slow and rhythmical fashion, and connect with blue. See the blue swirling, spiraling within your throat, blending with the light of the universe. And as you breathe in the blue and take it to every cell in your body to connect you with the true you and all that you are. And allow yourself to be in blue. And taking your hands to your heart, placing one on your heart and one on your back, or both on your front. Take a deep breath in, slowly. Hold and breathe out. Hold and continue breathing in a slow and rhythmical way. Allow yourself to connect with green. See it spiraling in your heart. Allow the energy to be absorbed into every cell in your body. See the light of the universe blending with the green, connecting you to all that you truly are and all that is. Be absorbed into the green and allow yourself to be in green. Now take your hands to your solar plexus. Place a hand on your stomach and at your back, or both on your stomach. Take a breath in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. And continue breathing in this slow, rhythmical way. And allow yourself to connect with the golden yellow and see it spiraling and connecting with the light of the universe and all that is and all that you truly are. Allow yourself to be absorbed into the yellow and to be in yellow. Now, taking your hands to your sacral, place one hand on your abdomen and one at your back, or both at the front. Take a breath in. Hold and breathe out. Hold and continue breathing in a slow and flowing way. And allow yourself to connect with orange. See the orange spiraling in your abdomen, connecting with your sacral chakra and the light and all that is and all that you truly are, and be in orange. Now take your hands down to your base chakra. You can place your hands both below your base or on your hips, or one at the front and one at the back. Now connect with red. Take a breath in. Hold and breathe out. Hold and continue breathing in a slow and rhythmical way. Allow yourself to absorb into the red. And as you breathe, see the red go into every cell in your body, connecting with the light of the universe, of all that is and who you truly are. And allow yourself to be in red. Now gently connecting with the earth. See yourself with roots extending down, and with a breath in, draw the energy of the earth up through your feet and legs. Feel present and centered. Connect with the colours of the rainbow within your cells, emotions and feelings, and your physical body and spirit. See yourself as a well-rooted tree, grounded and surrounded with love and abundant light. And enjoy your day being whole in colour.
Thank you. So the meditation was a little bit different because I asked you to keep your eyes open. And that's where the new energy is. It's about having our eyes open, allowing us to see all that is around us, above us, and below us, and behind us, and to walk our lives with intent and in connection with our hearts. The air and metal is about being conscious in the intent. Now, the reason why air and metal, the elements of the Chinese and the old pagan system, are together is because the beings of light told me to actually depict it. I found representing the elements the most difficult part of this journey, because I tend not to sit down and read books. I tend to be someone who is a creative who likes to see things practically. But this made me have to sit down and do that. And each time I thought I'd finished the book, it was because I thought I'd done the elements enough service, but no, I had to learn it very, very well. But I say thank you very much, because now I can do workshops teaching the element. But the reason why air and metal are together is I was told it was to form a bridge, because the metal can flow like mercury, be like liquid. It could be as strong as holding buildings up, you know, a kilometre high, maybe. The air can be so translucent, or can be so ferocious and thick that you can't see. Earth. Every element here is shown. You've got the water, the rocks, you've got the forestation, life, you've got the inward-looking caves. Be creative. Look at the creativeness within you. Look at life. You know, just because something's not working out for you, you can find another way to create and be all that you can be, and nurture and love. You may see yourself with your emotions in the turbulence of the water. You may love being there. I've had a lady see herself there and say it's so peaceful. That's where she wants to be. I've seen people go, oh, I want to be on the bridge or the rocks. Can't be near that water. Wood, the life force within us where we grow from. So this is the moss growing on the wood. This is a new element that was introduced by the beings of colour. It's a crystal. It's 9 points, 3 interlocking triangles on each side. And in the centre it forms this place of oneness. So, where to from here? You know, you can chat, you can use tools, you can work on beliefs and programs. It's about being honest and truthful. It's always easier to address something before it gets worse than trying to fix it at its worst. But the great thing is that the majority of time, people, by looking at one image, 4 questions, can find their truth that quickly. And it always boils down to the truth within your heart to be the best that you can be. So thank you very much.